President Trump's pick to lead the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, appeared on Capitol Hill today for his Senate confirmation hearing. Neil Jacobs is a meteorologist who served as the acting NOAA administrator during President Trump's first term. In 2019, an inspector general investigation found Jacobs violated the agency's code of ethics for his role in supporting Trump's false claims about Hurricane Dorian. That was after the president showed a NOAA forecast map that appeared to be altered with a marker. Jacobs' confirmation hearing comes as the Trump administration faces criticism over whether its cuts to NOAA, which oversees the National Weather Service, hindered the response to last week's deadly floods in central Texas. Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz asked Jacobs about what he would do to improve weather warnings moving forward.
Numerical weather prediction and advancing that is a top priority. And the Weather Service did a great job. But there's a lot of things I would love to improve. We need the data to understand what went right, what went wrong, whether people got the warnings, if they did or didn't, and if they did they not understand them?
For more, let's bring in CBS News congressional correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns. And Caitlin, thanks so much for being with us. Caitlin, as we mentioned, Neil Jacobs' confirmation hearing comes at a crucial time for the Trump administration. It's facing plenty of controversy and criticism over the response to the Texas floods. What stood out to you about his testimony?
Yeah, Nancy, that's exactly right. The backdrop to this testimony is really important here because it comes at a time that DOGE has made cuts to NOAA and related programs. But at the same time, there are questions about the amount of resources that the Weather Service has in cases like this one that we saw in Texas. So that was a repeated line of questioning from lawmakers up here on Capitol Hill. And it was interesting because the nominee for this position, Jacobs, as you mentioned, said that he believes they should have all the resources that they need. He thinks more money for research is better than less money for research and that sort of thing. But at the same time, he also said that he supports the president's budget and therefore these kinds of cuts. So there are questions about how those two may align moving forward. But what also stood out to me, Nancy, as you mentioned in the intro, that Jacobs is known for his role in that Sharpie Gate incident. He was the acting head of NOAA at the time. He was actually reprimanded with an ethical violation for his statement that he put out on behalf of NOAA at the time. He was asked whether he would have done that again if confirmed and in this role again, and he said no. He would have done things differently. He would do things differently moving forward. So this questioning about the politics and injecting politics into a weather service was kind of the underlying theme of this hearing today.
Yeah, I forgot that it was called Sharpie Gate back in the day. Caitlin, I also want to ask you about Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He met with a bipartisan group of senators there on Capitol Hill today. Here's what he had to say before the meeting.
I want to inform you something that will shock the various reports that come out. President Trump and I have a common goal. President Trump wants a deal, but not at any price. I want a deal, but not at any price. Israel has security requirements and other requirements, and we're working together to try to achieve them.
It has been a busy tour of Washington by Netanyahu. What is he trying to accomplish with these conversations?
That's right, and he was up here yesterday meeting with House Speaker Mike Johnson. He went back to the White House last night to meet with President Trump. That's the second time that they met in essentially as many days. And then back up here today on Capitol Hill to meet with both Democratic and Republican senators at the same time for a luncheon. And he was talking to us, that video that you showed, I was standing right in front of him actually, and he is trying to make the case that he and the president are aligned on their approach to ending this war in Gaza, but he hasn't been giving specifics about what it would take to reach a permanent ceasefire. He said that he and the president are aligned on getting all the hostages out, ending the threat in Gaza, but what it would take to reach that permanent ceasefire he hasn't elaborated on. And it was also notable, too, that when he met with the president over the weekend at a dinner, he talked about not having a two-state solution. He kind of dismissed that idea outright, and that has been our line of questioning up here on Capitol Hill, because it has long been U.S. policy to have a two-state solution. So we're wondering kind of what the lobbying is on behalf of Netanyahu to these lawmakers, but he finds a very friendly audience among Republicans up here. And you may remember that he is one of the few foreign leaders that have been invited to Capitol Hill to give an address to a joint session of Congress. He did so last year.
And Caitlin, real quick before we let you go, former President Biden's personal physician was also on the Hill today. He was part of House Republicans' investigation into Biden's physical and mental health. Now, this was a closed-door hearing, but do we have any sense of what happened there?
It was fascinating, Nancy. First of all, we really haven't seen him publicly. He never gave a public briefing on the president's condition while he was his physician and while Biden was president. So seeing him was striking. But what the headline out of this is that he pled the fifth through the whole line of testimony. It was behind closed doors. He was only there for an hour. But when asked specific questions about whether he was told to lie on behalf of the president, whether he had any questions about the president's ability to do the job, those sorts of questions, we have been told by James Comer, who has been leading this investigation, Republican congressman, that he pled the fifth through all lines of questioning. So that was the big headline coming out of today.
Caitlin, always a pleasure to see you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.